Sausage, pancakes, and cream. Lots of it. Nouveau Palais. We're waiting for you.
It is the near future. The apocalypse has had an apocalypse. A rogue cyborg army is reshaping the world into cyber hell. And only one thing can stop them.
Let's show them how cyber commandos get it done.
Mark 4 style, motherfucker! I want them alive.
From the toxic ashes of Vietnam War II, a new breed of renegade soldier is born. Part man, part machine. All cyber commando.
Fuck you.
Sergeant Rex Colt is leading the battle between good and evil, as it's never been fought before. He's on a desperate mission to bring down a battalion of ruthless killer cyborgs and save the world.
Lights out, Rex.
Michael Biehn is Sergeant Rex Power Colt in this year's most thrilling, action-packed cyber adventure. Far Cry 3, Blood Dragon. Adult and children sold separately.
I think people can tell that I'm not only a fan of old school gaming, but also just retro stuff, period. I mean, you can tell from my tribute wall here, from my Darth Vader to my $1 Million Championship from WWE, to even my old White Ranger mask when I was a kid, that I am completely into not only old school stuff, but unique and retro stuff as well. Now, not only am I into old school gaming, I'm also into old school movies, specifically stuff from the 80s and the 90s. Yeah, the year 2000s had some good stuff, but I'm mostly into things that are around the years of between 1980 and 1990. I'd say one of my most random memories I can think of right now when it comes to the 80s and 90s is the Terminator franchise, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. But as a kid, I wasn't exactly most of a fan of Arnold Schwarzenegger when it came to the Terminator franchise. I was more of a fan of the character Kyle Reese in Terminator 1, which he is played by Michael Biehn. Michael Biehn being one of my favorite actors growing up. Now, aside from the Terminator movies, Michael Biehn also had a part in Aliens. He played as Corporal Dwayne. You know, when it comes to anything of Michael Biehn, I absolutely enjoy it. But also another retro thing that I can talk about right now is also my fascination with FPS. Also known as first-person shooters. There is many people that can vouch for me when I say I'm pretty damn good at what I do, and what I do is my first-person shooters. But not all first-person shooting games are good. I mean, you know, no one can be as good as Wolfenstein or Doom or even Duke Nukem. When it comes to one specific series, I'm just not a fan of it. It just doesn't pique my interest. And that's the Far Cry series. When it comes to Far Cry, I just consider it as dull. I mean, a lot of people like the Far Cry series, but me in particular, it's just not my cup of tea. You know, I could play a Far Cry game, but I just don't get that same satisfaction that you would get from playing Doom or Duke Nukem. I just consider Far Cry, the series, as lame. But then I'd have to say that around 2013, around the time that I was literally just an Xbox 360 boy, I was into PC as well, but my console of choice around 2013 was the Xbox 360. But around 2013, there was a game that came out that absolutely wowed me completely. It had all the nostalgic stuff that I love from the 80s and 90s. It even had one of my favorite actors, which is Michael Biehn. And at the same time, it took pieces of my past that I love in terms of techno, to house music, to even old school movies. And they put it all into one whole thing. And I absolutely loved the wild ride that I had. It's from a series that I don't like. But it's the only game in that series that I will vouch for 100% that it's got to be up there with one of my top 10 favorite games of all time. And that game is Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon. Now I know what you're thinking. Onyx, you just said that you can't stand the Far Cry series. Why do you like a game from the Far Cry series? Well, when it comes to all of the Far Cry games I've played, I mean, I haven't played Primal, but I've seen people play Primal, and I think it kind of sucks. There's something about Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon that's different than any other previous titles that came before it, and even titles that came after it as well. I love the fact that it harnesses the nostalgia factor. It harnesses everything that I love about the past. And it's a game that I will actually say that I'm very addicted to. Now, Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, not to be mistaken for the actual Far Cry 3 game, is a first-person shooter. And even the weapons that you have are a reference to the past. Like, if I was to think of two random examples, I'd have to say the AJM handgun, which is a reference to RoboCop. Now, I bet you're wondering, what's AJM got to do with RoboCop? Well, what's RoboCop's real name? Alex J. Murphy. AJM. Get it? And then a second weapon I'd have to think of randomly that's a reference to the past is the Galleria. The Galleria is a shotgun that you get in Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon. It's actually a reference to Terminator 2 Judgment Day, talking about the Galleria arcade that's talked about, you know, in the movie. And plus, the shotgun almost looks identical to the same shotgun that Arnold Schwarzenegger uses as the Terminator in Terminator 2 Judgment Day. But why continue messing around here and talking about the game when I could just show you, right? I mean, I've been actually waiting to show off this game for a good while, but I've been waiting on the right time to do it. So, everyone, sit back, get your favorite drinking beverage, get your favorite snacking item, and let's dive right on into Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon. So, let's dive right on in.
Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon is a 2013 first-person shooter video game developed by Ubisoft. It came out for PC, Xbox 360, and PlayStation 3. It is a standalone expansion to the 2012 video game Far Cry 3 and is the 8th overall installment of the Far Cry franchise. The game, a parody of 1980s action films and video games, takes place on a retro, futuristic open-world island, with players assuming the action role of the military cyborg Sergeant Rex Power Colt. Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon is set in a dystopian year 2007, where the world is suffering the aftermath of a big nuclear war. Ubisoft described the game as an 80s VHS vision of the future, where the player must get the girl, kill the bad guys, and save the world. Plus, the person who does the voice of Sergeant Rex, Power Colt, is done by one of my favorite actors, Michael Biehn. His known roles being Kyle Reese in The Terminator and Corporal Dwayne Hicks in Aliens. Sergeant Rex Colt's partner is another American cyber soldier known as Spider. Spider's voice actor is Phil LaMarr. Phil LaMarr, known the most from Mad TV and a starring role on Justice League and Justice League Unlimited as John Stewart, the Green Lantern. Now I know people are probably still wondering, why do I like this game versus the other ones that are in the franchise of Far Cry? Well, first off, I love the soundtrack for Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon. It's made a way where it makes me think of when I was a child. This is the kind of music I listened to growing up, and plus I still listen to this music growing up. Second of all, I love Michael Baine's voice acting in this game when you play as Rex Colt. The one-liners are amazing, the references to the guns that he uses are amazing. I love also the fact that how you get certain currency in this game is you kill your enemies and you rip their hearts out. And then sometimes Rex Colt will say a corny one-liner from some 80s film or something. And I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. I even love the open world type of feel that it has, where on one hand, you know, you can do this side mission, or on another hand, you could just continue on with the original line of the story. You know, you could go either way with it. It's not a full open world game, of course, but it gives a good aspect feel of it. This is a game where I could play this numerous times and I would never get tired of it. It's one of those stress relieving types of games because not only does it have the first person shooting action that I love, it also has music to back up to it as well. And I also like how when it comes to the loading screens in this game, it's built like a VHS tape that's having tracking issues. And just me playing this game again after Lord knows how long, and being able to review it for everyone today, it was an honor, because I absolutely love Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, and I really wish that the other games in the series were built similar to this. I mean, yeah, it would probably get very old if they kept doing retro, you know, concept games from like the 80s and 90s type of feel. I could see that getting old very quickly. But if that's the case, then how is it that, you know, Tron did so good in games back in the day? How is it that, you know, Doom and Duke Nukem, they took stuff from the past of like the 80s and 90s, and they still stayed successful? I mean, if Doom and Duke Nukem can do that, then Far Cry could have done it too. And it probably would have appealed to me, but it just didn't. It just didn't. And Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon is the only game that I would play from the franchise. And do I recommend this game to people? Oh, yes, of course. Even the older you are, the more you may like this game. It has different twists and turns. It has some interesting things that your character ends up doing. And this is also one of those types of games where you learn as you go on. Like, let's say you're not good at first-person shooters, or at least you're okay at first-person shooters. This game could show you the good aspects of a first-person shooter. While, yes, Doom can be repetitive on some occasions, so can Duke Nukem. But Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon takes all the great stuff from first-person shooters. Maybe it has a teeny bit of repetitive feel to it, but not a lot to, like, turn you away from the game. Because I know some people would probably get tired of playing Duke Nukem, you know, frequently, just like Doom. That's one of the reasons why people make WODs of Duke Nukem and Doom still to this day. But when it comes to Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, I recommend it to people that not only aren't good at first-person shooters, but also to people that are good at first-person shooters. Like, you know, that's just me. That's just my review on the thing. That's just my review on this whole aspect of Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon. It's a game that I'd never get tired of playing. And I hope that somebody else that watches this video goes through the same type of feelings I did, where it's a game you could get addicted to. Because you can play this game on easy, medium, or hard. In my case, I always play it either on medium or I play it on hard so I can get my ass whooped. You know, so Yeah, I recommend Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon to anybody, actually. Especially the older you are, you may enjoy it. I give this game literally a 10 out of 10. And I don't really do that to a lot of games that were made in the mid 2000s in terms of year, because a lot of games just to me aren't as good as the original 80s and 90s, or maybe even the early 2000s. I'll give it that much. But Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon is a must play. It's a must play for people that are not only into old school stuff, but also people that are into retro futuristic things. I think you'll enjoy it. So that's all I have to really say about that. Let's go ahead and end this review.
So everyone, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw today and you maybe learned something new, click that like button, leave a nice positive comment down below. Let me know if you've watched anything from the 1980s and 1990s. If so, what's something that screams 1980s and 1990s in your brain when it's mentioned? Are you a fan of anything retro as well? Let me know in the comments. I will do my best to reply to every single one of you that comment down below on those specific topic questions. So, as always, thank you so much for watching. I'm your friendly neighborhood game machine, and I'll see you next time.